Good evening, and welcome to tonight's sleep story. My name is Jeffrey. Allow me to guide you through tonight's sleep story, titled A Train Ride Through the Misty Highlands. Allow me to set the stage for this enchanting train ride. The morning air is cool and crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of fresh rain and blooming wildflowers. The countryside station is small but charming, with its stone platform edged by lush green grass that glistens with dew. A wrought iron clock mounted on the station wall ticks softly, its hands pointed toward the start of the journey. Before you stands the train, a magnificent vintage locomotive that seems both powerful and elegant. Its deep green carriages gleam faintly in the soft morning light. They're accented with polished brass trim that catches your eye. The engine itself is a masterpiece of engineering, to be sure, its black body gleaming with a faint sheen of moisture from the mist that clings to its surface. Steam billows gently from its stack, curling upward like a signal to a quieter, simpler time. The sound of the train is inviting rather than imposing. A low hum vibrates softly through the platform, a subtle promise of the journey ahead. The occasional hiss of steam punctuates the air, blending with the faint murmur of passengers gathering their belongings. The conductor, dressed in a perfectly tailored navy blue uniform with brass buttons and a peaked cap, stands near the carriage door. His demeanor is warm yet professional, and he greets each traveler with a nod and a kind word. As you approach, he tips his cap and smiles. "Welcome aboard," he says, his voice steady and inviting. He glances at your ticket, then gestures towards the nearest carriage. "You'll find your seats in there. Enjoy the journey. The Misty Highlands are particularly beautiful this time of year." The steps leading into the carriage are polished wood, their edges reinforced with gleaming brass. As you climb aboard, the first thing you notice is the quiet elegance of the interior. The soft scent of leather and polished wood greets you, mingling with the faint aroma of tea and coffee that drifts from the dining car. Large windows line the walls, their glass slightly fogged from the cool morning air outside. The view outside is softened by the mist which clings to the rolling hills and gives the landscape a dreamlike quality. At the end of the aisle, you catch a glimpse of the dining car through the small glass door. The tables inside are set with fine white linens and polished silverware, and you can just make out the faint clink of teacups as attendants prepare for the journey. The sound is soothing, blending seamlessly with the soft murmur of conversation among the passengers. You take your seat near the window. The seat feels perfectly designed for comfort, and the view from your window is a painting waiting to unfold. The whistle blows, a long, low sound that resonates through the station. It's a signal to let go of the world beyond the platform, to surrender to the rhythm of the train and the promise of the journey ahead. The train begins to move, its wheels gliding smoothly over the tracks. The station starts to recede, its details blurring into the mist as the countryside stretches out before you. The landscape feels alive with possibility, and the gentle sway of the carriage makes you feel as though you're already being cradled by the hills. As the train picks up speed, you take a deep breath in and out, and let the warmth of the carriage, the soft rhythmic chuff of the steam engine, and the quiet excitement of the journey settle into your mind. Ahead lies the Misty Highlands, a place of serene beauty and quiet wonder, waiting for you to discover its secrets. Chapter 1. The Hills Awaken. The train begins to glide along the tracks, its movements smooth and rhythmic, as though it's always known this path. Inside the carriage, the world feels warm and inviting, a perfect contrast to the misty landscape outside. The seats are upholstered in a soft, velvety green fabric, their cushioning deep enough to make you sink in slightly, as if inviting you to stay a while. Each seat is paired with a small, polished wooden table adorned with a delicate lace runner. Resting atop some tables are slender vases holding freshly picked wildflowers, daisies, sprigs of lavender, and tiny bursts of heather. The flowers are subtle, their colors muted but charming, a gentle reminder of the countryside just beyond the glass. The windows are large and framed by thick burgundy velvet curtains tied back with golden cords. The curtains are heavy but elegant, their deep color complementing the rich wooden paneling that lines the walls. The wood is dark mahogany, polished to a mirror-like sheen that reflects the golden glow of the lamps mounted along the aisle. The lamps themselves are works of art, small brass fixtures with frosted glass shades, their light soft and diffused. They cast a warm, golden hue throughout the carriage. They create a cozy atmosphere that makes the misty world outside feel like a distant dream. As you settle into your seat, you notice the intricate design of the ceiling above you. It's painted in a soft pastel tone of cream accented with gold, with delicate filigree patterns curling outward from the corners. The detailing feels like a touch of luxury, a nod to a bygone era where craftsmanship was cherished. The sounds of the train add to the ambiance. The steady, soothing rhythm of the wheels gliding over the track is almost hypnotic. It's punctuated occasionally by a faint creak of the carriage as it sways ever so slightly with the motion. The whistle blows again, low and melodic, its sound traveling over the hills like an invitation to relax and let the journey unfold. From your seat, you can see into the corridor that connects this carriage to the next. The floor is tiled with intricate mosaics in earthy tones, and the brass handrails gleam softly under the light. Through the small glass window in the door, you catch a glimpse of the dining car. The dining car is a scene of quiet sophistication. White tablecloths drape over tables set with fine china and silver cutlery, each place setting perfectly aligned. Attendants move gracefully between the tables, balancing trays with teacups, scones, and plates of delicate sandwiches. The scent of freshly brewed tea and warm baked goods drifts faintly into your carriage. It mingles with the woody aroma of the polished interior. The conductor steps through the door of your carriage, his uniform immaculate and his demeanor calm. He pauses to check tickets, his voice a pleasant murmur as he exchanges kind words with passengers. As he approaches your seat, he tips his cap slightly, his smile genuine. "I hope you're comfortable," he says, his voice carrying a faint accent that matches the rolling hills outside. The Misty Highlands are quite the sight on a day like this. You glance out the window and find that he's right. The hills are awakening under the soft light of the diffused sun, their slopes draped in mist that swirls gently as if stirred by an unseen hand. Sheep graze peacefully on the slopes, their movements unhurried, and the occasional hawthorn tree rises like a sentinel from the earth, its twisted branches adding character to the landscape. As the train picks up speed, the sound of the wheels becomes more rhythmic, a soothing melody that pairs perfectly with the view. The hills cradle the train as it winds along its path, each turn revealing a new vista, a patch of wildflowers here, a cluster of grazing deer there. The landscape feels alive yet serene, a place that seems to have been waiting quietly for you to notice its beauty. You take a sip of tea from a delicate porcelain cup offered by an attendant, the warmth spreading through your hands and into your chest. with the gentle sway of the train, the golden glow of the lamps, and the timeless charm of the carriage, you feel yourself relax fully, allowing the journey to carry you deeper into the heart of the Misty Highlands. Chapter 2: The Forest's Edge. The hills begin to give way to trees, tall, ancient sentinels that rise like pillars into the mist. Their trunks are thick and covered in moss, their branches stretching upward to form a canopy that filters the faint light. The air seems cooler here, its scent rich with pine and damp earth. The train slows slightly as it enters the forest, its wheels quieter now, as if out of respect for the stillness of the woods. Shadows play along the forest floor, their shapes shifting with the sway of the trees. A brook winds its way through the underbrush, its water sparkling faintly even in the dim light. You notice a deer standing among the trees, its ears twitching as it watches the train pass. Its presence feels almost magical, as though the forest itself has sent it to greet you. The mist clings to the trees, softening their forms and creating a sense of endlessness, as though the forest could stretch on forever. The conductor steps into your carriage, his voice low and steady. "The forest of shadows," he says, his tone not ominous but reverent, a place where time stands still. The words resonate with you as you gaze out the window, feeling the quiet magic of the forest seep into your bones. Chapter 3: The Stone Bridge. The train emerges from the forest and slows as it approaches a grand stone bridge. It spans a deep ravine. The bridge is ancient, its stones weathered and worn, but its arches are strong and graceful, a testament to the craftsmanship of another time. Below, a river rushes over smooth rocks, its sound rising faintly through the mist. The water is clear and lively. Its surface catches hints of light as it twists and turns through the valley. The train slows almost to a crawl, allowing passengers to take in the view. From your window, you see the ravine stretching into the distance, its steep walls covered in greenery. Patches of wildflowers grow along the riverbanks, their soft hues blending into the landscape like strokes of watercolor. The sound of the train's wheels on the bridge is rhythmic and steady, a counterpoint to the rushing river below. You lean forward slightly, captivated by the beauty and quiet strength of the scene. Chapter 4: The Heather Fields. As the train crosses the bridge and climbs higher into the hills, the landscape begins to open up. Fields of heather stretch out on either side, their deep purple bloom swaying gently in the breeze. The mist has lifted slightly here, revealing the contours of the land, soft hills that roll endlessly into the horizon. A small cottage comes into view, its stone walls weathered and its roof covered in moss. Smoke rises from its chimney, curling lazily into the sky. It feels like a glimpse into another life, one of simple pleasures and quiet contentment. The train slows as it winds through the fields. The scent of heather and rain-soaked earth faintly perceptible even through the closed windows. Inside the carriage, you sip your tea and nibble on a buttery biscuit, feeling perfectly at peace. The train takes a gentle turn, and suddenly, a shimmering lake appears, nestled between two hills. It catches you by surprise. Its still surface reflecting the pale gray sky and the faint outlines of trees that line its banks. The mist hovers just above the water, curling and shifting like a soft veil. The scene feels otherworldly, as if the lake exists in its own secret world, untouched by time. You can see the faint silhouette of a small wooden dock jutting into the water, its planks weathered but sturdy. As the train slows, you notice a pair of swans gliding across the lake's surface, their movements graceful and unhurried. Their snowy feathers stand out against the muted colors of the landscape, and their calm presence adds to the lake's beauty. The conductor pauses by your seat, his voice low but cheerful. "The hidden lake," he says, "a favorite among travelers. They say it holds the secrets of the mist." You watch as the lake fades from view, its stillness leaving a lasting impression on your mind. Chapter 6. The Village in the Valley. The train begins a gentle descent into a small valley, where a quaint village comes into view. The mist has thinned here, revealing stone cottages with thatched roofs and windows glowing warmly from within. A narrow road winds through the village, lined with flower boxes bursting with vibrant blooms. The train slows to a stop at the village station, a modest platform adorned with hanging lanterns. A few passengers disembark, greeted by villagers who wave warmly from beneath their umbrellas. The sound of church bells rings faintly in the distance, adding a sense of timeless charm to this scene. Through the window, you catch glimpses of life in the village. A baker setting fresh loaves on a windowsill to cool. Children chasing each other through the cobblestone square, and a gardener carefully tending to a row of roses along a low stone wall. The stop is brief, but the village's quiet beauty lingers in your mind as the train pulls away, continuing its journey into the Highlands. Chapter 7. The Highlands' Heart. The train climbs higher now, leaving the valley behind and entering the heart of the Highlands. The landscape becomes more rugged, with rocky outcrops and steep slopes covered in vibrant green grass. The air seems clearer here, and the mist has lifted enough to reveal the full expanse of the hills. You lean forward in your seat, captivated by the view. The train hugs the curves of the terrain, its path winding through narrow passes and along the edges of steep cliffs. In the distance, you see flocks of birds soaring gracefully, their wings catching the light. The conductor walks through the carriage, pausing by your seat. "You'll want to look ahead," he says with a knowing smile. You follow his advice, and your breath catches as you see the train curving along the tracks ahead, its carriages gleaming in the soft light. Behind it, the hills stretch endlessly, their colors deepening as the sky begins to shift into twilight. Chapter 8. Twilight in the Highlands. The day begins to wane, and the sky transforms into a palette of lavender, pale gold, and soft blue. The sun is low on the horizon, its light diffused by the remaining mist, casting long shadows across the hills. Inside the carriage, the lamps have been lit, their golden glow creating a warm contrast to the cool tones of the landscape. The rhythmic sound of the wheels feels more pronounced now, blending with the occasional soft murmur of conversation from other passengers. The train passes a series of cascading streams that tumble down the hillsides, their water glinting faintly in the twilight. The conductor passes by your seat once more. "Not much longer now," he says. His words carry a hint of wistfulness, as if he, too, is reluctant for the journey to end. Chapter 9. The Final Stretch. The train begins its descent, winding back towards the edge of the forest. The mist returns, curling gently around the trees and softening the edges of the world. The landscape grows quieter, the hills gradually giving way to gentler slopes and meadows. You take a deep breath in and out, savoring the cool, fresh air that seems to carry the essence of the Highlands. that earthy scent of moss, the faint sweetness of heather, and the crispness of the breeze. Inside the carriage, the atmosphere feels reflective. Passengers sip their tea in silence, their gazes turned toward the windows as they take in the final moments of the journey. The train feels like an enclave of warmth and stillness, carrying you gently back to where it all began. Chapter 10: Returning to Stillness. The train slows as it approaches the station, the familiar outline of the platform coming into view through the mist. The whistle blows, soft and low, as if bidding farewell to the Highlands. You step off the train, the cool air brushing against your skin. The platform feels quieter now, the sounds of the train fading into the distance as it pulls away. The mist wraps around you like a gentle embrace, its presence no longer mysterious but comforting, a reminder of the journey you've just taken. As you walk away from the station, the memories of the rolling hills, hidden lakes, and twilight skies linger, filling you with a sense of peace, a peace that will always stay with you long after the journey's end. Good night.